I think the job of being a teacher is so rewarding in so many ways.
The connection between you and the whole class, that's still unbeatable.
When my pupils are successful, it feels incredible.
I think the greatest thing for me is seeing the pupils that I teach love the subject as much as I do.
I don't think there's any other job where you get the same satisfaction.
That's why I chose to teach.
You could get £26,000 tax-free to train. Search Apply to Teach. Selected subjects only, subject to eligibility.
Ladies and gentlemen, podcasting since 2005 with over 3 million downloads. You are listening to Gamertag Radio with your hosts Godfrey, Pete Rock, Parris, Pasta. Come on.
Welcome to episode 561 of Gamertag Radio. I'm Parris and I'm here with Pete. What's up, Pete?
How you doing?
I'm good. Second episode in a row, you and I just doing the show. Danny is still handling some personal issues, and he will be back on the next episode, so we look forward to having Danny back on the show. So, before we get into our topics for this week, I just want to remind you guys, you can check us out over at gamertagradio.com. You can also find the show and subscribe over at play.it. If you want to follow us on social media, we have a Facebook page at facebook.com/gamertagradio. And of course, you can follow us on Twitter at gamertagradio. And we got an Instagram? We do, right?
We do.
Yeah.
It's actually at gamertagradio.com. It's just at gamertagradio. It's there. There's like 4 pictures, I think.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I don't even know if I remember the password. But we really do need to get a lot better on. I think we all understand and know how to handle the social media thing. It's just, I don't know. I can only post so many things of socks and food before.
Exactly. But speaking of that, the Instagram and everything, I think for this E3, we definitely need to step our game up on Instagram with various photos and stuff from E3. I'll give everyone a nice repository where they can go to check out the stuff that we're doing during E3 2016. So with that said, I also want to remind you guys, if you want to leave us any feedback, that email address is feedback. Oh, damn. I went old school as hell. That email address is fanmail@gamertagradio.com. And of course, you can leave us a voicemail at 786-273-7GTR. And we appreciate all the feedback that we've been getting. And we'll probably read a few of those at the end of the show this week. So first topic. We have to talk about this. Microsoft came out. I saw the retweet from Phil Spencer. Microsoft came out and they announced that they are ceasing production of the Xbox 360. Pete, I don't know about you, but I didn't even posted this on my personal Facebook page. I wouldn't even be here right now if it wasn't for the Xbox 360. I mean, literally, I remember Danny getting that exclusive interview when they taped the Xbox 360 reveal and it was on MTV, and he got the PMS clan on to talk about their experience with the 360 and playing Perfect Dark and all that, and that's what kind of got Danny in touch with Trixie, and just everything just went obviously for Gamertag Radio. But even on a personal note, like I said, I remember listening to that podcast, and I just remember being so excited about that console and truly feeling like the next generation of gaming was here, and was just so excited for the launch. I got to go to 0 Hour, out here in Palmdale, California, out in the desert. It was at that 24-hour event where we just played all the 360 launch games nonstop. Got to meet Peter Moore, Jay Allard, just so many memories from that. I still wear the hoodie from that
Yes,
thing.
you do. I can attest to that.
Yeah, I do. I love it. That thing's great, man. I got 2 of them, matter of fact. But just looking over the past just 10 years with the 360, all the fantastic games that have come out, all the Halo games, all the Gears of War games. I mean, guitar. You can find it on YouTube right now. You can see me with Major Nelson on the Xbox campus screwing up trying to play Guitar Hero, which is, God, it's just terrible. Danny brings it up every chance he gets. But just all the people I've met, being an Xbox MVP and, being able to literally go around the world seeing video games because of that console. You know, I may be, the grumpy grandpa now and critical of all the stuff with Xbox, but look, 360 is the GOAT for me. For me, in my video game life, when I really think about all the consoles that I've had, the Xbox 360 is probably the greatest console in gaming history for me. Because when I think about my most exciting gaming moments, they all go back to something that happened on the Xbox 360. Like, I'll never forget that first night on, November 9th, when Halo 2 came out. And I, went to the midnight launch, GameStop, and rushing home. I'll never forget putting that thing. Wait, not Halo 2. I'm sorry, Halo 3. Excuse me. Halo 3 and popping that thing in and getting on Xbox Live and just playing with all my buddies, and we were just having a blast. It's just little tiny things like that. That you can't measure. It is what it is. It's why we're gamers. It's why these things are so exciting to me. And I know I'm rambling too much. So Pete, what are some of your memories of this stuff?
I remember not getting it day one and watching all of my friends and just talking about, oh my God, this thing is so amazing. This thing is so amazing. And I'm sitting there, I'm just like, I want my console now. Like, I want to be one of the cool kids. And I remember it finally coming in and opening up the box. And I've played the Odyssey, I've played ColecoVision, I played the Ataris, I played the Sega Genesis, I played the Nintendos, but nothing gripped me. Nothing brought it to the now. Nothing came to a full head until that 360. And I hate to make it sound like we're putting this device on a pulpit with all the previous games and titles and consoles that have come before it. But from a personal standpoint, like you said, it's one of those few that stands on its own and truly changed gaming.
Yeah.
Took it from a niche product, for kids essentially, something that people assumed or just stereotyped into like a kid nerdish type thing, and changed it so that it was almost accepted in the public eye as an okay thing, as a normal thing. I think part of that stems from launching in a generation where all of the Generation Xers, I guess you could say, the 80s kids, the ones that grew up on the Nintendos and on the Sega Genesis devices, were now adults and had their money that they could do and adult the way they wanted to adult, right? And this was, I think, the first adult electronic device that bridged that gap from being the 10-year-old in 1980 to being a 30-year-old, 40-year-old in the 2000s when the Xbox 360 came out. And I think I've damn near bought almost every single version of it, with the exception of the special edition ones. But I had the first gen white one. I got the black one when it came out, the matte black one. I had the S. The S still runs like a champ right next door to where I'm sitting right now in my daughter's room. That is the console for me. I know you hate. I know you despise the one. It gets
what? Whoa.
Hey,
beep. I do not. That is a strong word.
Hey, if you didn't despise it, you wouldn't have disconnected it and trashed it into your closet.
You know what? I'm not taking that. I'm not owning that. But continue, please. You're not putting that on me.
You're not putting that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. As much as the one has been maligned, and with all the negativity that was associated with the 360, with the Red Ring of Death, it stood the test of time. It lasted that 8, 9, 10 year lifespan. Still goes strong to this day for all it's worth. Yeah, I don't know if I can disagree with you. A lot of people would maybe say the PS3, maybe the PS4 might be able to eventually take that. But I think the way that it changed the landscape of gaming and video games as a whole, transformed it into an industry that could compete with Hollywood.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It was the first console that made gaming truly social, because it it dropped in that perfect time frame of the internet was really starting to mature. Broadband was becoming vastly available around the world. And Xbox Live was that service that brought us all together. I mean, just people listening, even you, Pete, just think about all the friendships that you've made over the years playing a video game with someone you may have not even met face to face. Like our good friend Phoenix. Do you know I've never met him face to face? We've never met. We've never met face to face. One of my best friends ever. And that's God honest truth. And I've never met him face to face.
You weren't at PAX with the infamous pause button?
Nope, wasn't there. Was not there.
Skittles
I was supposed to be there. Yeah.
Was there.
I was supposed to be there, but I wasn't.
Huh.
But even going back to like you're just talking about the 360, you're bringing up, you say despise Xbox One, but it's not true. But think about last E3 when Phil Spencer announced backwards compatibility. The crowd went bananas because there's so many games in that 360 catalog that we hold so near and dear to our hearts, right? So that was just like the ultimate incentive for anyone that wanted an Xbox One. I'm getting an Xbox One so I can still play my 360 games, right? So as crazy as that may sound, but it's true. That's just how special that system was. And I had Halo 2 on the brain earlier, and I kind of misspoke. I was actually at the Halo 3 launch up in Redmond. I got to meet Bill Gates because I was up there for that launch event at the Best Buy, and we got to hand out Halo 3 copies and all that kind of stuff. I'm getting old, folks. I'm thinking Halo 2, but it was really Halo 3 is what I meant. But it's memories like that, man, that you can't. There's nothing I would trade in the world for that stuff. Nothing. Because they're memories and friendships that will last a lifetime because of that. Again, I ain't on this podcast without the 360. You and I are not friends without the 360. Who knows where Gamertag Radio would be without the 360? That's just how much that system meant in the grand scope of the gaming industry. And of course, I know there's probably people listening that probably maybe hold the PlayStation 2 or their Super Nintendo or something like that more near and dear to their heart. I totally get that. But just for me, this is when gaming truly became what we expect it to be today. And that was with the 360 and Xbox Live. Just was. So I'll shut up about it because I don't want to get all sappy.
Get sappy. Yes. Yeah. Get sappy. No, it again, if not for the Xbox 360 getting us all together, as friends on the show, on the podcast, growing up as a kid and I always had my face in the TV, if I wasn't doing sports and stuff like that, it was either outside playing sports or inside playing video games. My dad was always like, get off the stupid box, go outside, go do something. And he hated any time that I had a controller in my hand. And now, because of the Xbox 360 and because of the connections and the people that I've gotten to meet and, obviously linking up with Danny and then us and everything else, now he's like, look, my son's on the newspaper. My son's on the CBS radio. He's my biggest fan. And it's amazing how the one thing that he hated that I was so attached to as a kid is the one thing that he uses now to when he shows me off like the trophy, like, oh, look at my son, he does this, he's on the radio. It's just it's almost like a personal internal gratification, but at the same time it's like, wow, it actually changed the way my dad sees it because of everything that has come as a result. So, shout out to Xbox. I know you more than everybody else in this show and me for a bit, especially according to the guy from the last email back in last episode. I know we're very critical of Microsoft and the Xbox One, but it's more so out of love and out of respect for what it's done for us in the past. And we just ultimately, at the end of the day, we just want it to get better and be better for gamers because all that does is it improves gaming overall for everybody, whether you're a PlayStation fan or you're an Xbox fan, you're a Nintendo fan, or you're on the Master Race on PC. Competition is good for the industry, for any industry. Exactly. And this is just one more key. It changed the game for gaming. It made Sony step it up. Sony stepped it up. PS4 came out. It's now the console du jour. Now it's time for, hopefully Nintendo can do it. And yes, I'm saying that. Hopefully Nintendo can step up their game, forcing Sony and Microsoft to step up their games. And eventually, we're all just playing in virtual reality, no headset reading. It's just a chip in the eye and we're all good to go.
Or we're already in the Matrix already and we just don't know it.
Exactly.
You never know. but one last thing on the 360, and then we'll move on to some other Microsoft news. You mentioned the red ring of death. Think about that. The fact that literally every original Xbox 360 had 100% failure rate. At some point, you were going to get a red ring of death, and they had to spend up to $1 billion replacing all those systems. And we might have grumbled a little bit, but it shows how solid that gaming lineup was back in those days. That
it could survive
exactly
the bad
you put
press,
up with it.
especially just at the apex of Twitter and social media, just as it was coming to a head, and everybody was seeing it, talking about it. Normal news like this probably would have killed any other console.
Yeah,
and maybe
agreed.
even Sony included.
Yeah,
but
I mean, if
it allowed,
if that happened, if that happens today, whew.
Yeah, that's
no
console suicide if you really think about it. But Microsoft, but the Xbox 360 was able to take it, turn it over, and use it as an experience crutch to say, okay, we know we'd have to make our hardware better to take on these additional roles, and in that case, it's got to be able to withstand additional heat from being in a smaller unit, better cooling, better airflow. And hey, every Xbox One gets hot in my living room, but it eventually fires up that extra fan and it cools it down pretty good. I know my PS4 does that whenever I do turn it on. So again, hopefully all these experiences, all they do is just continue to make our existing consoles that much better, so those in the future just give us that much more. And that's all we ever really want at the end of the day, I would assume.
Agreed. Totally agree. Well, before we move on to the next topic, let's just take a minute to get a word from one of our sponsors. I want to talk about Pro Flowers. Hey, fellas, Mother's Day is coming. It's coming up soon. And whether it be your mom, your grandmother, your sister, your spouse, check out Pro Flowers. They're the expert on everything, cooking, I'm screwing up this ad so much, but you know what I'm trying to say. This is what happens when you try to read copy, but I'm just going to power right on through this. Your mom is the one person that you search for advice. And like I say, her day is coming soon. So check out Pro Flowers. Get mom 100 blooms with a free glass vase for $19.99 plus shipping and handling. Or make her day extra special. Upgrade to a premium vase and add gourmet chocolates for just $9.99 more. Go to proflowers.com today and use our code GTR. And again, my wife, I need to hook her up. My mom, I got to hook her up. So why not just use Pro Flowers? It's easy. You go to the site, you use that promo code, $19.99. It's all taken care of. You look like the good guy. That's what I plan on doing. So I suggest you guys do the same here. So the only way to get those 100 blooms with a free glass vase starting at $19.99, go to proflowers.com, click on the blue microphone in the top right corner, type in our code GTR. That's proflowers.com, click on the microphone and type in GTR. Remember, Mother's Day is really next week. It's coming. So check it out. Order today. This offer expires at Friday at midnight. That was the worst ad I've ever done in my life, but we're just going to power right on through this. I'd say, look, you can't be, because think about it. Let's talk about the ads for, because people talk about us like, oh, God, I hate you guys do the ads. And we've obviously explained why we do the ads and everything. But, I don't want to just read the sheet. Because they send us a copy, and I don't want to be a robot and just read it word for word. So I try to put in the remix, baby. I try to get a little fancy with it, and this time I screwed it up. What can I say? But Pete, what are you going to do for Mother's Day? You got any plans?
I got my brother-in-law coming in from Orlando. Him and his wife are coming down with their child. Call him the champ, and I think we're gonna go out and do maybe a brunch or something like that with them. I know I got my flowers came in. I gave them to the wife. They came in during lunchtime, so I came to the house. I set them up in the living room. So as soon as she opened up the door, boom, they were ready to go. It's like, Happy Mother's Day, love you.
There you go.
Hey, take it from me. Happy wife, happy life. If you're in a relationship,
yeah,
and just swap out the wife part. But honestly, happy spouse, happy life. They're there for a reason.
No. Pete. Don't say happy spouse. It is literally, we're the husbands. So whoever is considered the husband in the relationship, you don't matter. It's all about the wife. It really is.
It really does.
As
long as they're happy, it makes your life, makes your day go by so much smoother. And being in a long relationship, you get to understand that it's like you get joy out of getting that happiness, out of getting that smile for just a little trivial thing such as flowers or something like that out of nowhere. I mean, this is not just your wife. We're talking your moms. Moms put you on this earth.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? If it wasn't for her, you wouldn't be doing. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be talking about video games, talking about pro flowers or any of that other stuff. But you know, this is the earth, man. You know what I mean? This is your moms, and you know, this is those that gave birth to your child. So it's the least you could do is get them a stack of flowers, for Mother's Day. So
and look, this has nothing to do with the ad either. We just try to get you some real life advice out there. If you're sitting there confused, because trust me, I've been married 20 years. It's the little things. Jesus my God, it's the little things. Just remember that. But let's move on, because we're getting way off on a tangent here. Let's get back to the video games. That's why people are here. So, staying on the Microsoft subject, it also came out this week via The Verge that Microsoft has been testing out some quote-unquote prototypes of a next, I'm using air quotes here, a next Xbox. Is this going to be the fabled Xbox One 1.5? Is this just an Xbox One Slim? Is this going to be the Xbox Tutti Frutti? I mean, we don't know. We don't know just yet. Personally, Pete, I do think this is going to be whatever the Xbox 1.5 is going to be. I don't think this is the next Xbox. I don't think they're just simply making a slim version of the Xbox One. I think this may not come out in 2016, might be 2017, but I think they're going to make their own Xbox 1.5 or whatever we're going to wind up calling it. What do you think?
So it's no surprise. Microsoft had to go forward with getting its new equipment out, especially with the news of PlayStation coming out with a codename 4.5. You have to take this into consideration. It's a business, so they're always thinking of the next latest and greatest. They've taken their experiences from the bad and the good with the Xbox One. They're seeing what Nintendo could potentially be coming up with. Technology changes. It changes at such a fast clip in this generation, where we're seeing new phones and new components out of nowhere coming out every 4 or 5 months. So this is the perfect time for something like this. I think it might be time, especially with Microsoft trying to move towards the Xbox or the Windows 10 platform, the Universal Windows Platform, UWP, as bad of an experience that it had with launch at for the Quantum Break game. I think they're taking that into consideration and using that as a scapegoat. Probably the bad opportunity to use that is probably the launch of a new what Microsoft would consider a AAA for themselves. Maybe using it as a scapegoat to see if what could be good, what could be bad. It's not a bad thing. Hopefully they include Bluetooth in this one, because I think that's a big mistake not including that in the original Xbox One. So we know that they're going to be including wireless.
What would it be used for?
Headsets. If you want to listen to stuff on your couch, and this is supposed to be a living room experience type box, right? So give me a Bluetooth headset so I can sit there on my couch. I don't have to blast my stereo if it's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night and my kids are asleep. I can listen to it in my headphones, and I don't have to worry about third-party accessories.
I don't
HoloLens, communication. I mean, there's a whole world of opportunity there. So, I mean, yeah, that's one opportunity. Yeah, it would be Bluetooth, but you've got other things, VR, HoloLens, all these things. Stick with the time. Why are you going to omit something that is so prevalent? Like, let's say you're watching a TV and you've got it mated to your phone and you want to hear it, and maybe get a notification on screen. If you've got a Windows phone or something like that, you get the notification, you can hear and make phone calls off of your console through your phone. Similar to the way Project Fi and Google Hangout works with those phones, and just using Hangouts to make phone calls as opposed to the native app.
Here's why they're not going to do that. In my opinion, you're going to piss off your current customer base, because the argument then is going to be, well, why didn't you put this in the original Xbox One and force me to go buy these $300 custom Astro 850 headsets that only work with an Xbox One?
Just as an example. To buy those, though. You could have got the wireless headset or the wired headset that it came with.
Well, again, and those, excuse me, and those people, like, you're right, you weren't forced to buy it, but they did buy it, and they were loyal to your product, and now you've pissed them off. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying this in the 1.5 version, if this really does happen, because, excuse me, and we'll get into Sony, what more information came out about the PlayStation Neo in a little bit, but if they're going to do the 1.5 approach, you don't want to risk pissing off the people that were there for you day one. You basically want to say, hey, we're supporting 4K, we're beefing up the GPU a little bit, your games will look a little prettier, but other than that, the experience would be exactly the same as if you had an original Xbox One. If all of a sudden you start throwing in Bluetooth, hey, you don't need to buy headsets anymore, you can just bring your own Bluetooth headset to the party, and these type of things, people aren't going to be that happy about that. I don't think. Just my opinion.
But don't you think you want to keep bringing out more improvements to your device?
But now you just told me to get all the cool stuff. If I already have an Xbox One, you just told me I need to spend another $400 to be able to get that extra things on my console to play the same exact games that I'm playing now, just a little bit prettier.
Isn't that what Sony's doing with the PS4?
Oh, no, I agree, and that's what we talked about last week. I mean, we'll get into Sony in a minute. I don't want to talk about Sony too much. I want to stick with what Microsoft's saying, but I don't think whatever they do with this 1 point, because I do believe a 1.5 is coming. I just don't see them sitting this out completely, unless they take the strategy they did with the original Xbox and just neuter this thing now and just go ahead and say, well, we're moving on, but we'll allow backwards compatibility for current Xbox One games. Yeah, that's going to probably piss off Xbox One owners too, but it gets them out of it. It gives them a new lease on life. Whereas this 1.5, whatever it winds up being, it needs to at least match what Sony's going to do with this Neo, I think. And I do think they'll be smart to not rush it and wait until 2017.
Well, as Phil Spencer said before, if this is something they're definitely planning on doing, they're not just going to do what like Apple does with their iPhones. It's iPhone S. So, a year later, if the plan is what Phil Spencer is alluding to in those little cryptic type comments like that, they're going to go bigger. Microsoft is known for that. They're known for going for the jugular when they make their changes, and they go and they make what they did from 360 to the Xbox One. They changed a lot of the features that people thought were coming out. Granted, some of the stuff that they announced, was reacted to negatively by the press or by the community, but you have to go big and bold, and this is the perfect opportunity for them. They're in second place. There's nothing to lose if you really think about it. And we've said this on numerous episodes in the past. This is a perfect time for them, to take everything they've learned and make it that much better. Make it to the point. Hell, who knows? And again, this is all speculation. We're all just talking. We're probably 100% wrong at any point. But yeah, this is Microsoft's throwing, Microsoft isn't cheap. So, they're throwing the bank at it. So I think they're going to use this opportunity, maybe punt the package and just go with a whole brand new console and say, okay, well, these are the ones that you had before. Here's a dedicated Windows 10 / Xbox device that, fully interacts. Who knows? Maybe it's just a Windows 10 box in a console.
Could be. I mean, it's going to be an interesting E3 to see what they do, because there's no way Microsoft cannot do anything. There's no way Phil Spencer gets on that stage in June and simply says, hey, Xbox One Slim, all right, have a nice day. They're not doing that. They're doing something on the hardware side. It may not come out this holiday. It may come out next year, but they're gonna say something. Right. And it really comes down to this: if we see an Xbox One 1.5 this year or not, is if they were already planning on doing this and they're not simply reacting to what Sony is doing. AMD actually had an investment call, and it sounds like they have 3 custom socks coming out this year. We know one of them's going to wind up being that Neo, so it'll be curious to see. And the other one very well may be the NX. So it'll be curious to see if that third one is something for Microsoft, since they're all running AMD.
Right. So my other question would be, are they going to go GDDR5, or are they just going to go and stick with the 3 with DDR3 for graphic video RAM?
Very good question. See,
and if they do, does that put the Xbox One then on par with the PS4 if the CPU and everything else stays about the same? If they make the little tweaks to make the Xbox One closer to what the Neo or what the PS4 currently is, giving it the swappable hard drive, so you don't have to go with the external hard drive. I doubt that they're going to do that, because I think that's a money play for them. But doing those little tweaks to match what people want or what people are going for on the PS4, 4.5, Neo, whatever it's going to be called, does that make it more appealing to the consumer base, make it that much more difficult, and then throw out hey, we've got more exclusive games, we've got all these other games, these first-party games, and the backwards compatibility to the previous generation that you could do natively.
That was going to be what I was going to say. Is it going to be native, though, if they switch to DDR5? Because see, the thing about the Xbox One versus what the PlayStation 4 currently is on the architecture, yeah, they're both x86, but the Xbox One uses ESRAM.
Right.
Are they going to ditch that, or are they going to be forced to keep it? Are they going to be able to simply keep Xbox One backwards compatibility native if they tweak the architecture, so to speak? Because with this Neo, they're keeping the architecture basically the same. They're just bumping the horsepower under the hood, right, so to speak.
Yep.
Whereas if Microsoft does what you're stating, they're tweaking the architecture, so that could have an effect on older games. And will they still be able to emulate the 360? Which I assume they would. I don't think that would be a problem, but they're gonna want to keep that play that forward, is what I'm trying to say. They're gonna want to be able to do backwards compatibility all the way back to the 360. There's no way they're gonna dump that if they do a 1.5. So
remember, at the end of the day, Xbox One, all it does is run virtual containers. It's just a big virtual host.
Well, again, that's why, hey, UWP, Windows 10. That's part of the reason that they're doing all this. So it very well may be simple. Look, I'm not a developer. I'm not. I'm just a dork that likes to talk about video games. I don't know nothing. But
I will say this: I still think it's going to stay, or it's going to increase the cost of what the Xbox One currently is.
Welcome to Play It, a new podcast network featuring radio and TV personalities talking business, sports, tech, entertainment, and more. Play it at play.it.
This is Gamertag Radio. Voicemail 786-2737-GTR.
But moving on. So this PlayStation Neo, obviously when we recorded the last episode, Giant Bomb had literally just dropped the information. So we were still a little sketchy on some of the topics. So since the few days that have gone by since then, we've had a little more clarification from Giant Bomb and even from Digital Foundry, the guys over at Eurogamer.net. And this is kind of what we're alluding to when we're talking about the Xbox 1.5, if that really does happen. I actually like what Sony's doing with this, because they're basically saying you're going to have this PlayStation Neo, and that the PlayStation 4 is going to be the base model. But they're mandating with developers that there has to be parity across the two platforms. They can't have this enhanced feature that's Neo exclusive that you can't have on the PlayStation 4. So just in simple terms, they're saying 1080p for the PlayStation Neo, so no more 900p with the PlayStation Neo. They will like a game that's currently 900p will be up-resed up to the 1080p. They're going to make enhancements to like remote play in the DVR. So remote play is going to start having 1080p resolution on the PlayStation Neo. The DVR is going to be able to do 1080p 60 frames per second, that you'll be able to record to your PlayStation 4 and then, send it to YouTube and Twitter and wherever you want to share it with your friends. The controllers are going to stay the same. They're not going to have these updated controllers. It'll still be the current DS4 controller that you get on the PlayStation 4. And I mean, just overall, the games that you play on the PlayStation 4 will they'll be up-res to 4K if you have a 4K TV, but they'll be at 1080p. The frames per second will be up to the developer, but like I was saying before, they're not going to give you these exclusive features on the Neo, in that if you have a game on the PlayStation 4 that runs at 1080p 30 frames per second, and that's all you can do with it, then it has to be 30 frames per second on the Neo. They're not going to bump it up to 60 on the Neo and leave you at 30 on the PlayStation 4. So the point I'm trying to make on this is, and again, like we were saying last week, Sony has to be very clear at E3 with their message to let the 40 million people that have PlayStation 4s know they're not getting screwed. If you already have a PlayStation 4, you're still going to be able, at least in the short term, I would say for at least the next couple years, you're going to be able to play the same exact games on both systems. It's just one system. The resolution's going to be higher, and there might be some extra particle effects in the background or something, but that's really about it. So is that worth it? You have to ask yourself that question. I can't answer for me. I'm looking more at the 4K options of it, the 4K streaming that'll be built in. I'm assuming the 4K Blu-ray player, because some people were kind of squawking about that because it wasn't listed in the documents that Giant Bomb had. But a developer wouldn't have to worry about that anyways, because they're still going to limit the games to the 50 gigabyte discs anyways. Again, they're not going to have Neo games that all of a sudden have these 100 gigabyte discs and then have everything super compressed to be on a PlayStation 4 on a 50 gig disc. So that would be irrelevant. I'm still on board with this. I think for me, in my household, my son would keep his current PlayStation 4. He would play his games. I would have a Neo. We're still playing Destiny together and doing all that kind of stuff. But if we want to watch a 4K movie on the Neo, we can do that. And for me, I think it's worth it. I understand for a lot of people, it probably isn't. So if that's the case, and here's the other thing. The PlayStation 4 isn't going anywhere. So you're going to see a price drop on that PlayStation 4. If anything, the PlayStation 4 is probably going to sell even more this holiday going head to head with the Neo, because it's going to be at a cheaper price, and mom and pop don't care about getting a 4K Neo. They see a PlayStation 4 that costs $250 or $200, and they're going to get that because it's a cheaper option. So that's just my thoughts on it. Pete, what do you think?
I know you have your son on your account, and I'm curious because you can only have a primary console. Can I?
An issue? Yeah, let me throw that in. So, and again, the actual ecosystem of PlayStation Network will be the same across the board. So, the PlayStation Store is still the same. PlayStation Plus, all that's still going to be the same, whether you're on a PlayStation 4 or if you're on a Neo. Obviously, the Neo probably has like a 4K store for movies and things like that, but that's it. So the scenario you're talking about right now, my son's PlayStation 4 is considered the quote unquote primary PlayStation 4. And the one I play on, is the secondary one, so that I only have to buy one copy of a game and we can share back and forth, as far as digital copies go. That scenario should still exist when the Neo comes out. Shouldn't change at all. No. I mean, if you read the articles that's on Eurogamer or on Giant Bomb, that's basically what they're talking about. It's not a hope. Here's where the hope comes. How long does Sony mandate these things? Is it for 2 years? Is it for 3 years? Is it until the PlayStation 5 comes out? That's the thing that people need to look at. In the short term, yeah, they're saying all the right things, they're doing all the right things. But at what point does Sony say, okay, use a little more of the power of the Neo and make this game better on the Neo, or let's make it, so it's only, don't worry about the frames per second anymore. So yeah, it runs like crap on the original PlayStation 4, but look at how it runs on the Neo. Go get a Neo. Look, eventually Sony's going to want you to go buy a Neo. That's just a fact. At what point do they cut that off? I think if they at least keep parity for a couple years, people should be okay with that. In my opinion, not that they should be okay with it, but I think that's about as much as you can expect in this scenario. After 2 years, it's kind of like the iPhone analogy you brought in. That's when you start seeing, you're a couple iOS revisions away from when you got that phone a few years ago. It starts running a little slower, and there's some apps that aren't as great on it as it would be on the newer phone. Because that's just literally the world we live in now. But I'm talking too much. Pete, what do you think? I'm
curious how developers are going to be able to handle this Neo mode, right? I guess that's the best way.
It's like a PC.
Is it?
Think about it. It's the same. It's the same as if you got a game on Steam.
If it can, it will. If it can't, it doesn't.
Well, no. That's why they have the base mode. They need to make sure it works on the PlayStation 4 and scale up from there. That's how I'm looking at it. Let's just take God of War, for example. We know that game's coming out. They need to make the best possible version of God of War for the base mode of the PlayStation 4 that they possibly can. So if that's 1080p, 30 frames per second, and that's all they can squeeze out of it, or if it is 900p, 30 frames per second, that's what they do on the PlayStation 4. But then on the Neo, you can get it to 1080p, but it still needs to be that 30 frames per second. But there's probably extra effects and lighting and other cool things that'll be in the game. But the game itself does work. It's a smooth experience, and you're getting everything out of it. And I take the analogy of the Witcher 3, right? Like The Witcher 3, I can play it in ultra mode because I have a 980 card, right? In 1080p, right. And it looks great. But if I want to bump that son of a gun to 4K, yeah, I need to kind of turn some features off there, right? You know what I mean? That's kind of where we're gonna be, because you got to think I promise you this. I'll put cash money on this. They're gonna go on that stage and they're gonna show us Uncharted 4, because you're like, hey, Uncharted 4, everyone loved it, Game of the Year contender, it was great, right? Well, look at it on the Neo now, and it's just gonna have extra lighting features, and it's just gonna look that much better on the Neo, but the core experience of the game is still the same on both platforms, right? So you're not losing anything, you're just losing extra effects. It's kind of like turning on PhysX, right? If you want to take a PC analogy for it.
Okay.
If you play a game without PhysX, you're still playing the game and it looks great. Turn PhysX on, you start seeing all kind of stuff blowing in the wind and particles floating around and all this kind of stuff. That's what I think the PlayStation Neo is going to be.
My concern then is it the right time to have a dual console version out for your ecosystem? Just from a consumer standpoint, like, it may force more people to buy the original and the non-Neo version. My concern is, do you fracture your base in any way, shape, or form, or do you shun those that maybe are forced for a financial reason to have to buy the base model as opposed to going out and getting the deluxe edition? Let's just call it like that, right? Yeah. Don't you think that splits your economy? Why are you splitting that up? Or do they really think that they're going to sell enough to warrant a Neo for an average increase, like at best, of GPU and CPU power? Like, I'm not seeing.
Here's what
I'm not seeing the overriding desire to say, this makes value and sense for a company to spend all this money to develop and build another version of the console that is just minorly upgraded than what they currently have.
And I take no credit for this, but here's what someone said on NeoGAF, just in the discussion forums talking about this. You have to look at it this way. The parts to make the original PlayStation 4 are getting cheaper by the day, right? So Sony could have said, we're the leader in the clubhouse. We can make this PlayStation 4 even cheaper now. We'll still sell it at $250, $299, and we're making money. We're just making money. But instead, they're bringing a new system, an upgraded system into the market. Yeah, it's probably going to be at $400, so it's cutting into their profit margin, but they're still going to make money. But the thing is, like I was saying, they're not getting rid of the PlayStation 4. So it's still there. You as a consumer make the choice. No one forces you to get a PlayStation 4K. But at the same time, whenever we see a PlayStation game from here on out, guess what version they're going to show you? They're going to show you the Neo version, because that's going to be the prettier version, and that's going to be the one to make you go buy the game. So it is a catch-22 in that way, but we also have to understand, with the way technology is moving so quickly, advancements happen so fast. Look, and I've had arguments on Twitter about this the last few days. We're sleeping on that AMD Polaris GPU. We don't know what that thing can do just yet. And that's why I caution the 2-year parity rule, because at some point they may want to move everyone into the Neo, and eventually, obviously, the PlayStation 5. So would you rather be stuck with 2013 technology until 2020, or would you rather get something in the middle point that's going to enhance your gaming life towards the latter half of this current generation before they go to a PlayStation 5? It's really up to you what you want to do. If you can afford to do it, you're going to do it. If you can't, you stick with the system that you currently have. I will say this, and I guess I'll just, one of the emails that we got, because someone was asking this question about what to do about a console. He was talking about on the NX side, but I'll just apply this to even PlayStation. I would not buy a PlayStation 4 right now at all. Heck no. I would wait until E3 to see what the heck is actually going to happen. Same goes with the Wii U. I would not buy a Wii U right now. I would wait until E3 to see what happens. Even really any console, Xbox One, too. Wait. We're way too close to E3. The rumors are starting to fly. Wait to see how this shakes out. Wait to see what the message is going to look like, if it's worth it to you. Because there very well may be, like you're saying, Pete, this is a luxury item that you don't need. Just get the PlayStation 4 and play the games on the PlayStation 4. It's not like they look ugly. Again, put Ratchet and Clank on a loop and walk out the door. That'll shut anybody up. So, it just comes down to consumer choice, I think. But I like the fact that at least at the start, Sony's not splintering their market. They're mandating things of these developers to keep their current customer base happy. But there will be a point where they're going to start nudging people towards that Neo. That's just a fact of life, and it's just a fact of business. That's how business works. They're in the market to make money. So if they feel like making this investment in the Neo now makes them more money on the back end, that's why they're doing it. Same with Microsoft. Look, it's not like Sony's the only one doing it. Microsoft's going to do it too. Nintendo's a little different because the Wii U, like it or not, was not a success. They had to move on early. It's just time for them to move on to a more powerful system. And it very well could be this PlayStation Neo is a reaction to what Nintendo's going to do. Sony's assuming Nintendo's coming out with a more powerful system. They're going to have games that look better on their system. They attract third party back to their system. So they're now a threat. So if you're a threat, we're going to put out something to top what you're trying to put out, and we're going to stay the leader. That very well could be it too.
I don't know. My concern is that they're forcing devs to reach to 1080p on a console 23 million existing users don't have.
Well, they don't, but that's the thing. This Neo should be able to do 1080p 60, because from the little bit that I've read about this new AMD Polaris GPU that's going to be in this thing, and these again are assumptions. This come from Digital Foundry. It seems like it's kind of going to be on par with the 980 power wise. They can do The Witcher 3 1080p 60. So we can do The Witcher 3 in that, of course it's going to be able to do these other games too, no problem. The thing is, if anything, these developers are going to be held back because they need to make sure that the PlayStation 4 can hit certain marks before they actually add them into the Neo. So again, going back to my analogy, if they want 60 frames per second on the Neo, they got to hit 60 frames per second on the PlayStation 4. If that means going 900p on the PlayStation 4, then that's what they're going to do, and they'll upraise it to 1080p. But they got to hit 6. It's either 60 frames on both, or it isn't. You know what I mean? They're not going to have 30 on the PlayStation 4 and 60 on the Neo. You know what I mean? So, right. Or vice versa. They're not going to do 60 on the PlayStation 4 and they go, oh, well, we can only do 30 on the Neo. No. It goes both ways. That's the parity. But I guarantee you that'll only last about a couple years, and then it'll change. And then we can have this discussion again.
So essentially 4-year console lifespan as opposed to the previous 8, which was the baseline.
That's what it's sounding like. But you know what? It's technology, man. It's just how things are working now.
It's like we said in the previous discussion. It's just, I guess in that respect it makes sense. Because you're letting technology lead, and then you're just following just closer as opposed to trying to get that extended 8-year reach for stuff. Granted, this is going to make things for developers a little bit more difficult who take time on their games, similar to, let's say, like a Mass Effect, which essentially could get overrun from one console generation to another while they develop their game. Or let's say somebody like CD Projekt Red, who does 4 to 5 year spans between games. Yeah. So who's to say that by the time Cyberpunk 2077, if it ever hits market, might get overshadowed on a console that's already old? You know what I mean? Like, will they have to recode for a new device at this point?
Exactly. Oh, which final thing, we'll move on from this. So that you bring up a good point, bringing up CD Projekt Red. So they're saying as of October, they're going to be, all these game developers be mandated to have base mode and Neo mode in all their games moving forward. September, they can go in and start patching things. And I guess any developer can go back and patch a game for Neo mode or old game if they choose to. So it's up to the developer if they want to do that now. So look, we know something like Uncharted 4 is going to get it. It just, of course it is. But imagine if CD Projekt Red goes back and patches The Witcher 3 on the PlayStation Neo so that it now looks like how I see The Witcher 3 on my current PC. Ultra mode, all the effects, the hair, everything, right? That's kind of the showcase difference. Because actually I was having a conversation with a listener offline last week, and we were talking about The Witcher 3 because he had only played it on PS4, and I was just explaining to him how amazing it looks on my PC on Ultra. And he was like, yeah, it doesn't look like that on PlayStation 4. These are the kind of, that's kind of the template of what I'm saying. To have something that basically runs like a mid-range PC that you have to tone down the effects on, being able to play it on a higher end PC where you have it in Ultra and all the effects turned on. I think that's kind of the perfect analogy of what this PlayStation 4 and what this Neo is going to be. And I assume the same thing with Microsoft as well whenever they figure out what they're doing with the Xbox. So moving on from that, because we can talk about this forever, and obviously E3 is going to reveal all of this, and we'll see what's going to happen. Oh, and I do think it's coming out in 2016, by the way. But moving on, let's just get our last sponsor. Let's talk about Sherry's Berries. Again, Mother's Day is coming. It's just around the corner. And what is a great way to show your mom how much you appreciate her? You can surprise her with something unexpected and unique, and that is Sherry's Berries. Right now, get Sherry's Berries freshly dipped strawberries starting at $19.99 plus shipping, or double the berries for just $10 more. This is an exclusive offer for GTR listeners. Go to berries.com, click on the microphone in the top right corner, and type in our code GTR. We've had these berries before, if you remember, P. They're dipped in milk. You get white, dark chocolate. It's just, oh my God. And they're huge and just juicy. I could not believe it. And then when they're delivered, they're like, in this crazy like refrigerated thing. They were like kind of cold still. It was crazy, and it was like literally some of the best strawberries I've ever had in my life. And this is coming from a dude that tries not to eat sugar, but you put them in front of me, I got to have a couple. That's just how it is. So
you're lucky you got some last time, because the last time I got them, they were delivered. I think I was out of town for work or something like that, and I came home and there was like one strawberry in the fridge.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
They're that
crazy.
Good.
Yeah, they're that good. So look, go check out this amazing deal. Freshly dipped strawberries starting at $19.99 or double the berries for just $10 more. This is an exclusive offer for our GTR listeners. Use our code GTR. Visit berries.com. Click on the microphone in the top right corner and type in our code GTR. Go to berries.com. Click on the microphone, enter our code GTR. This is a limited time offer, and Mother's Day is next week, guys. Make sure to order now. So, let's talk about your favoriteest game in the entire world, The Division. What is this Phoenix credit stuff? I don't know what this is.
All right, so last week, Massive forgot to include the dailies for the last week leading up to the DLC and Incursion Falcons Lost. So there was about 5 or 6 days where people would log in, no updates, no dailies. So apparently, I think they load them up on a weekly basis from what it appears. And people were unable to get their usual, I think it's a similar like 70 to 80 potential Phoenix credits. Phoenix credits are in-game currency used to buy weapons, blueprints so you can craft new weapons, mods, etc. So they forgot to put it in there. So Massive, if you log in this weekend, Massive announced earlier today, I believe, or 2 days ago, that anybody that logs in will be eligible to get 150 free Phoenix credits to use however you want. I would pay attention to the Division Twitter account to get a better, to get an exact idea as to when it's happened. The rumor is, from everything I've been paying attention to on social media, it's about to happen this weekend. So 150 Phoenix credits essentially gets you halfway to getting one piece of a gear set. Gear set is the newest armor that's available. Improves your gear score, gives you more benefits. You stack gear sets on top of each other, you get more bonus benefits on top of that. I'm stacking Phoenix credits anyways because I'm looking for a specific piece so I can get all 6. But is this enough? I don't know. I mean, I'm all for free. I like free. I've never said no to free. So this is a good way to keep the good rapport with the player base. I think this is Ubisoft's way of trying to spin the negative from last week's. They're going to punish people who've been hacking or exploiting glitches. I think it's a great way for them to finally get their name in the positive spin or a positive light for players of the Division. I don't know if it's enough. I mean, this is great for a temporary yay, but I think, and I hate to say this, but I think you may be right. Granted, this last DLC was a free upgrade, or was a free, it was free DLC. There's another one coming next month, but I'm starting to feel that lack of content now. And I hope I can push it off because I really enjoy playing the game, but I hope it's something that I can deal with until the next DLC comes out, which will be free in May. But for now, I don't know, Parris, you might have made the right call in saying that it doesn't have enough content.
Well, Miss Cleo tried to tell you, but you don't listen. No, I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it goes, because it's not like the other D game, Destiny. It's not like it's just chock full of content that just keeps you engaged over and over. But the one thing that my main issue with the Division was, it wasn't so much the lack of content, just the daily stuff. It was that end game. What was the thing that had us coming back to Destiny over and over? It's the freaking raids, right? That's why you played it so much, because you enjoyed getting 6 people together, forcing us to work as a unit to accomplish something. You know, exploits and glitches aside, if you played it straight up, amazing experience. I just don't see that in the Division yet.
Well,
I'm waiting to see that raid type experience.
Well, that's what that incursion is. That the Falcon Lost incursion essentially is that. While it's not as expansive or as detailed as, you know, any of the Destiny raids, I think it's a lead up to the major DLC, which is going to be part of the season pass. That I think it'll plus it'll give them plenty of time to have developed and built it out. You know, after the launch of the game, you know, these are free DLCs. You know, to sate, if anything, the player base until the major DLC starts launching in the summer. But Falcon Lost in itself, it's sort of like a mini raid. It's probably the best way to say it. You know, it's you know, you're still, you know, you're fighting. Essentially, it's the hard raid for, let's say, Destiny, but on a smaller scale.
Yeah, and we probably should start wrapping up. I know we're kind of going long here, but I want to say, because you literally made me think of this. Maybe here's the difference. Destiny had the raid day one. So what was it, 2 weeks after launch? They made it like an event to see who was going to be world's first. You know, people are streaming it on Twitch, the whole thing, Budget.net, Twitter's blowing up about it. It was an event. So every time a raid comes out, it's an event. It's must watch streaming to see who can figure it out first. We didn't get that with the Division. So I kind of think maybe when this DLC comes out, maybe that's something they got to start pumping. They got to promote. They got to get the community involved where people are buzzing about it. Like, who's going to conquer this thing first? Who's going to be world first? Who's going to live in infamy that they were the first one to knock this out? Because like you talk about, this was like a mini raid. Do you have any idea who the first person that beat it? Probably not. No. I mean, I don't think I saw anyone from the Division community talking about this on social media. But, you know, again, I don't want to compare this to Destiny. I'm just using it as an example. But like I said, I want the game to succeed. I'm going to play it eventually. I've obviously just been busy with other things at this point, but I'm going to jump in. And I know we keep saying the E3 thing, but I have to say it because it's just a fact. Ubisoft better have the goods for us at E3. They better drop some kind of bomb. That's all I'm saying. Get me hyped. I as a person that's, you know, a hate out of 8, get me hyped. Hi, Ubisoft employee. Get me hyped to say, you know what, man, when I get home, I'm installing that Division. Pete, can I roll with you? I want to be saying that. You know, that's what I want to do. So hopefully, you know, like you said, when the season pass and DLC stuff kicks in, we'll get some of that stuff. But any last thing you want to add on that before we go ahead and start wrapping this up?
No, not so much for that. I do want to mention is this is something that hit hard today. Which was the passing of Prince. I know it's unrelated,
you know,
to Destiny and all the other gaming stuff, but I kind of want to take a serious stance real quick.
Yeah.
And I may say something controversial as a result. It's something I mentioned to my wife, and she was like, "Whoa, yeah, don't write that. That's gonna be pretty bad." There's a few artists that come and go in a person's lifespan, whose music touches you. In a way that changes your perspective. A lot of people may say, okay, well, there was the Beatles, maybe the Led Zeppelins, Michael Jackson, James Brown, Jimi Hendrix. The one for me, I would have to say, would be Prince. It's very rare that a celebrity passes and I feel sorrow, I feel sadness, and I have tears. Just month ago, you know, Phife Dawg passed. I felt that one because I grew up on hip hop. I grew up on him as part of a Tribe Called Quest. David Bowie, definitely you could include into an artist, you know, like this. But growing up as a child, listening to the Controversy album as a kid, probably shouldn't have because of some of the content that's been in Prince's albums. the 1999 album, and then Purple Rain. Those are just tracks that I'll live with forever. And I had this conversation with my wife, and she's on my side just because, you know, we both appreciated what Prince did. But for us, like, I would put Prince above Michael Jackson in that list of artists that have passed. That, like, I would say Prince is a better artist, musician, etc., than and left a bigger imprint, at least on me personally, than what Michael Jackson did. And that's nothing to take away from what MJ did. He was phenomenal in his own right. But man, it's the world truly did lose a musical legend with the passing of Prince.
I can't dispute anything that you just said. And, you know, for me and you, we were kids of the 80s. You know, just remember, like, mid 80s. Remember the whole thing was Michael Jackson and Prince are gonna have a what was it, like, they're gonna have a showdown or whatever. Everyone used to always say that around the schoolyard, and they used to be like the big thing because they were just the two biggest icons in the world. And as I matured as an adult, and, you know, Michael Jackson became, you know, what he was, rest in peace. You know, Prince was just always smooth. I think that's just the easiest way to describe him. He was just a G. No matter what he wore, no matter what he said, he was always the coolest dude in the room. And you loved his music, but you loved his style as well. And I mean, and again, I don't want to make this too long, but, like, don't forget how long he fought for his music, so much so that he changed his name. Mm-hmm. for the longest, fighting for his music, fighting for his rights. I mean, the guy was extremely intelligent. He was a savvy businessman. You know, dude, he did the Vegas circuit just because he wanted to, not because he needed to. And like I was telling you before we even started recording, one of the biggest regrets I'll ever have is I had a chance to see Prince at the Rio and passed. Oh my God! I don't know.
Slap you.
I know. I don't know what I was thinking. I was Fat Parris back then. I didn't know what I was doing. But, you know, like, you know, you see me all the time posting stuff on Instagram or whatever, like, music I'm listening to. Dude, I'm always listening to the Prince at the gym. He's in my regular rotation. So it's like, you know, everyone today, he died, you know, they're hitting the playlist and they're playing all the Prince songs. I don't need to do that, because I'm always listening to him anyways. I didn't need to be inspired by his death to listen to Prince, because Prince was so much of a G that he already was on my mind and something that I listened to. You know, he's going to be greatly missed. He is literally one of the greatest musical geniuses that we'll ever see.
Favorite album? Ever see. What's your favorite album?
Diamonds and Pearls.
Wow.
Ask me my favorite song.
What's your favorite song?
Raspberry Beret, baby. All day, every day. You know what I'm saying? He got so many, though. You know, everyone has a favorite Prince song. I don't think not one person, not two people have the same favorite song, because that's just how good he was. And for so long, you know. Look, Prince. I almost called you Prince, but Jesus. Look, Pete. Hey, you got me talking Prince. Look, maybe I'll just go purify myself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka.
Yes.
You know.
Dame
yeah,
blouses.
He was awesome. Anything else on Prince before we get out of here? Because I'm sure. And look, I know Danny is secretly somewhere looking at his watch, like, guys, come on, too long. You got to stop.
No, I think we'll leave it on that. You know, shout out to Prince. You know, truly an artist I'll never forget.
Yeah, same here. So before we end it, no fan mail. I'll just simply say a follow up to Anthony that emailed us. So he was asking us about which one to get, VR or 4K, and we were mentioning, hey, we didn't know what kind of rig he had. Look, since he emailed it to us, I'm gonna just put his rig on blast, and I'm gonna put this one little part that he said on there, because I want to be like him when I grow up. This cat is rocking an i7 6700K with a 980 Ti and 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM. And he even says in this, you know, he's leaning more towards VR. And he's not sure about 4K. He's like, I wasn't sure if I wanted to get a 4K monitor or just keep the 1080p monitor. and go for the HTV Vive. And then he goes on to say, I'm good to go. I'm just not sure that setup is enough for 4K. Then he said, this is the G move. He pulled a Prince move right here. Money's not an issue, so I could just drop in another 980 Ti if I wanted to. Look, you win the internet, dude. Anthony, shout out to you. Can I borrow $20? Because you were a baller. You just like said it like it was nothing. Like, oh, $600 for a video card? Psh, I can do that easy. Hey, can you buy me a new PC? Could we triple SLS some TIs up in this joint? Just hook me up. But no, Anthony, thank you for emailing us, replying that, because that is a beastly rig. And like you said, to truly play 4K, you're going to need another 980 Ti and SLI, those things, to get true 4K, minimum 30 frames per second gaming out of the stuff you want to play. So thank you for that email. But we've been going on way too long. We've been screwing up ads this entire episode. Honestly, you know what? Danny asked a question a few weeks ago. I should just leave for a while and see if people miss me. Danny, we miss you. There you go. You happy? I said it on the podcast.
And it's recorded.
Yeah, it's recorded. There you go. We miss you because we need you back to stir the ship, because we can go for 2 hours talking about gibberish, So, all right. Pete, any last thing before we get out of here?
Nope, that's it. If you like what we're doing, like what we're saying, or if you don't like what you were saying or what we're doing, fan mail at GTR or Gamertag. Jeez, I can't even say it.
See,
we screwed this show up. So Danny, come back soon.
Please come back. Please come back. All right. This is episode 561 of Gamertag Radio. I'm Parris. That's Pete. I can't even say it right. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
You're listening to Gamertag Radio. Be sure to like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Thanks for listening. Tune in next week.